Hello fellow travelers. This video snippet will detail the creation of new rail lines. Once you become familiar with the process, it will be second nature to create customized routes that will allow you to achieve the goals and objectives of the various scenarios. We begin the process by selecting new line creation. Once we've done that, we then go ahead and select the train stations that are going to make up our rail line. We need at least 2 stations. We could have 2, 3, 4, 5, depending upon what our objective is. Once we have selected those stations, we then will be able to go in and define exactly what the rail line is going to look like. And this will allow us to determine the locomotive, the type of loading format, and so on that our rail line is going to execute. So let's go ahead and take a look at that option. Our first rail line configuration option is to select the locomotive. Normally, the locomotive is selected based on whether we want freight, express, or mixed characteristics. The major difference between these types of locomotives is the speed of the locomotive and the traction. The greater the traction, the more freight-oriented it is, the faster it is, the more express, and then the mix gives us the benefit and combinations of both of those. So depending upon what you want this rail line to perform, you would select either an express, freight, or mixed locomotive. Then we would select the number of trains and the loading process. The loading process determines what will be carried by your rail line. If you select freight, it will only select freight goods, merchandise to be placed onto the rail line. If you indicate express, it will only place passengers and mail on your rail line. If you indicate automatic, it will make a decision and take a priority on what is important to the targeted location that the train is going to. So if the train needs certain merchandise, it will select that. If the train needs passengers or mail, it will select that. So automatic will determine what will be carried by your rail line. You could also set an option of manual, which means you would then go in and select what it is that will be carried by this particular rail line. At this point, we essentially are done with our rail line. As we will see later on in the video, we can further refine our rail line by modifying the tracks, the specific merchandise that is carried, and so forth. We can revise, delete, review our rail line at any time. We bring up the list of rail lines, click on the specific rail line we are interested in, and then we have the capabilities to review the current status of the locomotive, the materials, whether it needs water, sand, or oil, the speed associated with the locomotive itself, and whether it can be an express line, and the merchandise that it happens to be carrying. We can also go in and modify any of the elements, any of the configuration components of our rail line. You have complete flexibility during this process to revise your rail line, to delete your rail line, or merely to look at the status of the various aspects associated with the rail line. Let's review the steps. First, we select the locomotive. Then we select the number of trains, and then we select the loading process that our rail line is going to perform. Remember, we can select automatic, which will designate to pick whatever product, merchandise, mail is required. We can select express, which will limit it to be passengers and mail only. And then we can select freight, which is merchandise and goods. We also have the manual option where we can go in and specifically determine what the cargo will be. Remember, you have the flexibility to revise your rail line configuration at any time. Just remember to save the changes. You can further customize your rail line by adding specialty wagons or cars to your rail line. You can add a dining car, you can add a mail car, a caboose, a refrigerating car. All these will enhance your revenues. So depending upon the specific purpose of the rail line, you may want to go ahead and add some of these specialty wagons to your rail line. In addition to customizing the rail lines, you could further modify your line by specifying which goods should be carried, that is given priority, which goods should not be carried. You can specify the minimum number of wagons or cars that the train can have, the maximum number that it can carry. You can even specify the rail line that it should take. So in addition to all the other configuration options for creating a rail line, this allows you to further refine your particular rail line to meet the specific objectives that it was created for. Therefore, analyze the cargo. Once you do so, then take a look at the specific wagons and the restrictions, and then go ahead and make your final adjustments, thus creating a rail line that is unique to the objectives that it was designed for. And always remember, you have the option to modify your rail line at any time by merely selecting the specific rail line from the list. You can go ahead and change a locomotive. You can change the loading status. You can change the merchandise that is being carried. You have control over the activity your rail line will perform during any period of time. Once you've completed all of your tasks, sit back and enjoy the ride. If you have enjoyed this video and have found it to be useful, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again for watching.